Property Management 101. And we break this down into 5 areas. Okay. This is kind of what I look at this as 5 areas. Maybe y'all heard me talk about this a lot. Area number 1, fair and housing laws. We spent a whole 2.5 hours 2 weeks ago talking about fair and housing laws with Karan, right? If you are a non-member and want access to it, you know what? I'm cool. You can get access to it or whatnot. Probably shouldn't, but whatever. I want people to know their stuff. Leasing 101, we'll go over that. Rent collection, maintenance, and vacancy mitigation. These are the 5 topics we'll talk about today. The first one will go light because we went so heavy 2 weeks ago. So I'll run through that quickly. And like I said, if there's any questions, like for real, put it in the chat. We got Brandy, we got Owen here to help man the chat. I'll be perusing at it. So if we need to kind of stop, I'll stop to kind of answer some questions as we go. So hopefully sit back and we about to get going. So what is basically fair and housing? Look, fair and housing protects people from discrimination, protected classes, in getting a mortgage, housing assistance, buying a home. Any of these housing related activities are extremely sensitive, right? Some of y'all on social media and probably running ads as social media influencers, you will find out you actually have to hit the housing budget to do that. The US is very, very sensitive of how we talk about housing, how we advertise housing, and the rules around that. Again, our class 2 weeks ago, we went really in depth in that, and we'll offer that up, but we'll go a little bit lighter today. So what laws and what areas are protected? We're talking about race and color, right? National origin, religion, sex, right? Women, men, gender identity, disability, and familial status. These last 2 are quite interesting. Most people won't necessarily think about, right? Disability, I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Familial status, that's a big one. Essentially, you cannot discriminate because somebody got kids, y'all. Okay, that's what that means, right? And they got a lot of different scenarios on that. Okay, big details here, right? So what are some of the things when you're talking about renting or selling a house that you cannot do, that's just illegal, that's important for you to understand, right? Any discrimination, any kind. You cannot refuse to rent or sell, refuse to negotiate for housing, make it unavailable, provide a person with different housing services and facility than someone else, right? Falsely deny, harass, right? Evict based on any of these statuses, right? Changing sales prices, lots of things. There's a lot of stuff on this page for a reason, because you can get tripped up in a lot of different ways, right? We talked about in the past, if you did not offer the services for or accommodations for someone with a disability, even though the house, you just bought the house and you just put a tenant in there, but if this tenant requests some types of accommodations, you could get sued if you deny them. So this is really important. We won't go over it too heavy today, but again, I can't stress enough making sure that you are advertising and doing the right thing. And we'll go into some of the other things in a second. So examples of housing discrimination. Just because it's not obvious doesn't mean it's not not discrimination. Many housing units have accessibility requirements. We just talked about that. Discrimination in the form of steering. Steering is when you direct people a certain way. I think you and your people will find yourself better in this neighborhood. That can be viewed a certain type of way, y'all. Reasonable accommodation for disabilities. Any type of harassment, right? And that might sound common sense, but common sense ain't so common. Children, right? Families. The big one for us that's as landlords that's important is advertising and marketing.
Hey, I'm gonna send a code to your phone. Send it to me.
Make sure y'all have the mute on. Advertising and marketing. This is big because we got to be consistent. That's the word that I think is important when you're talking about advertising and marketing. Consistency, right? Whatever any platform that you advertise on should be the same, which also should be the same with your screener. We'll get to the screener in a second. But anybody that calls you from an advertisement, you need to make sure that you're saying something consistent, right? If it's 2.5 times rent on the Craigslist ad, it needs to be 2.5 times rent when you pick up the phone. Okay. The other one, the Violence Against Women's Act. This act does not necessarily apply to women. It applies to both sexes, but that's what it's called, the Violence Against Women Act. We talked about that before. That's another big one, right? So if somebody has some type of history of domestic violence or things of that nature, you cannot deny upon that. Additionally, if someone has a domestic violence situation and they're currently living in your property and they need to break their lease, they absolutely can break their lease, along with if somebody was a military veteran. So again, that's little known knowledge. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. It's important to kind of reiterate that. All right, let's get to some of my favorite stuff. Leasing 101. Let's get into it. Okay, so as we kind of previously talked about, number one, be consistent in your marketing and follow through, right? I cannot express that enough. Make sure you got your fair and housing laws, and then create systems to go from lead to applicant. That's what we're trying to do. For us, it's important for us to get lots of leads. The more leads for quality tenants I have, the better chance I'm going to have a good tenant long term, right? If you take the first application or you're not getting a lot of application, then your percentage or statistically your likelihood of getting a tenant is a good tenant, right? That's going to stay with you long term goes down, right? So I love volume. All right. So let's go into some of this leasing criteria, right? This is big. All right. So for us, this is just an example. As a landlord, when you're in the process and you're getting ready to go to market, one of the things you just need to take a moment to stop, right? And say to yourself, what type of leasing requirements do I want? You don't have to copy mine at all, but you need to have some, and they need to be consistent. And if you're smart, you're actually going to put that in the advertisements, right? So there's no questions, right? We put our application criteria in our advertisement, so that just reduces the amount of questions and back and forth and gets us to application status a lot quicker. So for us, 2.5 times rent. In different markets, you might be 3 times rent, but since housing is so unaffordable, we're at 2.5 times. Sources of income, right? We have to have verifiable sources of income. Okay, if anybody heard me speak, this is a big one. Okay, very, very big one. So you need to verify. People have fake pay stubs. Okay, I got friends of mine that will come up with fake pay stubs. You need to verify the income. We'll go through some more of this, but this is huge. Good rental history, right? We want to hear from the past landlords. We'll go into that too. We got screeners for that, right? We send out an email to companies that they allegedly work for to prove and have them sign that they actually work for it. Additional to making sure that they work for it, you can look on Facebook, you can look on Google the company, call the company, do a verification that this person is actually getting income beyond a pay stub. You might want to go the extra mile if you're a newbie and you're really scared, collecting some bank statements. Do you see the direct deposits that's corresponding with the pay stubs that they give you? Okay, very big. Good rental history, right? This is a big thing. Some states are trying to call this discrimination, like New York. I don't. I'm sorry. If you are acting with another landlord, there's a good chance you're not going to change your stripes and you're going to act like an ass with me. So I ain't really feeling it. Okay. What I'm not taking felonies past 7 years. We don't take evictions past 7 years, and we don't take broken leases past 7 years. Right. And you got to be consistent. You might like Grandma Susie. Okay. And she had an eviction 6 years ago, but you just denied Pookie, you know what I'm saying? And he had eviction as well. You violated fair and housing, y'all. So again, just want to make sure, I'm gonna reiterate that along the way around consistency. Okay. Let's see, we're gonna keep it moving. Okay. And y'all see some of my examples down below, right? Different things. For us as felonies, with misdemeanors, we're a little bit more lenient. So for example, I mean, do I really care about somebody having a possession charge, right? A marijuana possession charge? I don't. Now, do I care about them having a distribution charge? Absolutely, right? Two different things. All right, so what's some places that you could do lead generation? One, a lot of old school things work, a lot of new stuff works. Okay, so platforms that we use, affordablehousing.com, our local MLS known as HAR, Facebook Marketplace. You will get a lot of leads. They typically don't turn into applications for us, but you will get a lot of inquiries. Craigslist, Zillow, Zumper, apartments.com. And if you're local, go to these local old school newspapers, right? Where and how you advertise will get a certain avatar tenant back to you, right? So if you are in a local newspaper, like in Houston and in Texas, we have a thing called the Green Sheet. I still roll with the Green Sheet. That's real old school. But guess what? Who reads the paper? What type of person reading the paper? Old folks. I like old folks. See what I'm saying? So I'm meeting them where they're at. That's a way to market to a particular avatar, right? Without violating fair housing. I didn't discriminate against a young person. I just market to where older people might look for stuff. That's a trick. Okay. So similarly, look at all this stuff. Facebook is really good. If you get an inquiry, right? You have not discriminated by not taking the application. If you just get an inquiry, that's just an inquiry. Okay. So you might not respond. I didn't see it. You know, I'm joking, but I mean, seriously, right? They got to call, they got to do more, right? So if you get a small inquiry on Facebook Marketplace, man, spend 3 minutes and go look at their profile. Now, I would tell you not necessarily discriminate based on that profile, but you know, you might be looking for some things, right? If somebody's throwing up a bunch of money and flashing a gun or something in their profile, yeah, you know, you might want to look at that. So a profile can tell you a lot about the person. All right. So how do we get from lead generation to potential tenant? Okay. So for us, if it's Facebook marketplace, if you gangster like us, if you got a lot of doors and you want to create a brand, you can have a business suite on Facebook Marketplace and you can put some AutoCAN messaging in your ads. That's huge as far as saving time. So that's something that we do. Got some AutoCAN messaging. Hey, thank you for contacting us at blah, blah, blah apartment complex, right? Here's a link. Oh, what's your deposit? What's your whatever? CAN message. Okay. If y'all ever been on Facebook, if you're in Marketplace, you can create CAN messaging, okay, in Facebook. This is really, really cool. It saves you a lot of time. What you're trying to do is drive people to get their cell phone. If you're on an online platform, you're trying to get these cell phone numbers, right, to follow up. You're trying to get these emails to follow up, right? That's what you're trying to do. In Facebook, in Marketplace, what you can do is you can create canned messages to kind of answer some generic questions. So you're not answering a bunch of questions all day long, right? What's your application status? How much is your deposit? Do you accept pets? All of those are type of canned messages you could set up. And obviously the biggest one is sending out your actual link to your application. I do not take paper applications anymore. We have a digital application that we run through our property management system known as Buildium. I recommend Buildium for any of my larger landlords. For my smaller landlords, maybe apartments.com and or Rent Ready, and we'll get into that from a software perspective. But that's a great way. If you have the ability to create a digital application, huge. You really, really want to do that because now, again, the whole game is speed to application. You want to see lots of applications, right? Okay, conduct a verbal screener with all applications. We will share with you what our verbal screener looks like, okay? That's big. That creates consistency. We're asking the same messages, right? We're asking the same thing all the time, right? So we're getting the questions asked. We're not forget. Sometimes in conversations, things kind of go all over the place and it keeps you on target. So Hope y'all can still hear me. Let me see. All right.
We can, you're fine.
Okay. Revisit rental criteria. This is a big one too for me. I like to reiterate our rules and our rental criteria in the phone screener, in the conversation. We want to be consistent with who we are as landlords, right? So I let people know, hey, this is the type of landlord I am. This is how we operate. So as early as possible throughout the process, we're going to be very consistent in how we talk to them and let them know our expectations as for tenants and what they should expect for us as a landlord. Okay, basic background check, verify the ID. Okay, in the screener, use an online application, IDs, pay stubs, sources of income. We talked about that. Social Security, voucher information. If you take the voucher information, give me all that up front. Okay, if it's a voucher holder, right, or a program holder, go ahead and send me your paperwork. Now, if y'all realize this is all in the lead generation, we haven't even shown the property yet. Because if you're a voucher holder, I ain't got time. If this voucher don't match up, go ahead and send that in to me so I can read it. Oh, well, I know the zip code or whatever. No. You will send it to me so I can read it myself. So I'm clear about what the issue, what the voucher actually pays out and what it doesn't pay out. Okay. Here are some of our screening questions. Okay. What size home are you looking for? Bedroom and baths. So just to have that clarity, let's say, hey man, are we aligned, or did you click on the wrong ad, the right ad? Make sure that you're aligned on that. Ask them not only that, but also where are they living at now? Are they downsizing or are they upsizing? Are they downsizing or they upsizing? When are you looking to move in? Right? You could be pre-leasing. Okay. So make sure that, when are they looking in? They might be like, oh, I'm moving in November, but your property's ready in September. I ain't about to wait no couple months for you to move, for me, right? Or you could, right? Just knowing that. What is their budget? What is their source of income? This is all in the pre-screener. How long have you been employed there? Great question. What is your monthly income? Right? Great question, right? So the employment stuff, right? You want to identify types of jobs and professions that are good professions. Like, I like truck drivers. Truck drivers are great. Nurses are great. Teachers are great. Blue collar jobs are great, right? We like that, so finding your avatars, right? I like retirees. Oh, you got a Section 8 check and a Social Security check and you're retired and you're older. Okay, cool. I like that. Does this add up? So you want to have a good sense of that, right? This is why we're asking these screeners. How many people are occupying the space? Big question. Big question. Okay. You got a 1-bedroom, but they want to bring 4 people in there. You got a 3-bedroom house and they got 8 people. Right. And you want to write this down. All of these things go on the screener. You take notes of this. So when they might apply 3 weeks later. And you go back to it and say, okay, the application showed 2 people, but on the screen they had 8. What's going on? See what I'm saying? How many people are 18 and older? Everybody who's 18 and older will and must have a separate application. If they don't, we are on what? On them. Do they have any pets? There is an additional for us non-refundable pet deposit or monthly pet rental fee. Okay. Now you can make a determination of how you want to do that. But what we ain't doing is a pet deposit. Because we ain't giving no money back for no pets because they're going to jack up something anyway. Sorry. Right. And I do take pets, and anybody who actually personally knows me knows I'm not a huge pet fan personally. Right. I'm not a dog lover personally. I know, don't kill me. Right. Everyone loves a dog. They love their furry animals. I'm not. But we do understand that 68% of Americans have a pet. So if I was denying pets, then I'm excluding the majority of my potential clientele. This is not good business.
Hey, don't forget service animal. That is against the law to deny service animal. That's specifically if you're talking about vets.
Correct. So denying a service animal is against the law. However, you can ask them for their service animal paperwork, not to be confused with emotional support animal. two very different things, two very different laws according to your area. In the state of Texas, we absolutely can charge for emotional support animal. I do not believe we can charge for a support animal. Support, what are they supporting? There is a list in your local area. I don't want to quote because I'm not a lawyer, but what you do want to look for is there are specific laws in your state about what you can charge and what you cannot charge. Okay. So let's keep going. What have you ever heard of had an eviction? Oh, I don't know. Blah, 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 blah. Let me know now. One way or another, I'm gonna find out. We will be doing a background check, criminal background. We do a 3-in-1 background check. So you better let me know now about this broken lease and this eviction. Right? Oh, I had an eviction. It was 9 years ago. Okay, cool. That's within my 7. Right? Oh, well, I had an eviction, but it was the landlord's fault. I'm sorry. We're not doing it. Right? And I got strong reasons on why I don't take evictions past 7 years. If you really understand the eviction process, there's a lot of time that the tenant can have to negotiate and figure out a situation with the landlord. So it takes a lot of time to kind of go through an eviction. And ultimately, if you don't, if you have to go, for me, if I have to go all the way to court with you, that means there's been a breakdown of communication. That means been a breakdown in basic business commerce and etiquette that ultimately I don't need to go down the path with somebody else with personally, right? Are there any issues should I know about before I run a background screening? All adults in the household background check. Our background check costs $30, maybe cost you $40, whatever it is. We use mysmartmove.com. Mysmartmove.com is what we use. All right. Criminal history, man. Hey, look, 7 years. We ain't doing it. Criminal conviction or adjudication for murder, capital murder, indecency with a child, aggravated assault. These are all my things, man. I ain't playing with y'all, right? I got apartment complexes. I can't have no sex offender in there with no little kids and no old people or whatever. Who's liable for that? Oh, well, this whatever. And again, you can have your own criteria around this. But for us, we rolling with the felonies, misdemeanors. I ain't really tripping on too hard. But we're gonna ask some questions about the misdemeanors, right? We're gonna ask some questions. Yep.
Before you go just a little bit further, we do have one question. One of the questions that applies to what you just went over in regards to employment. Perfect. So the question is, do the employment rules or apply to people when it comes to Section 8? Like, how do you qualify for them? Even though some people on Section 8 do still work, but are you taking? Question. Say it again.
No, great question. So they're asking,
okay, you got it.
How do we account for employment on Section 8? Okay, so obviously, well, first of all, I have a whole Section 8 class, but I'll give you a brief synopsis. One, most people on Section 8 you will find that actually works. Okay, so there's a big difference. I would say the majority of vouchers that I have seen in my history, the person actually works. There are a good chunk of vouchers where the person don't work. Well, if they don't work, they might be getting some other assistance or something to that nature. Like for me, we had a call today with a nonprofit organization that is trying to help homeless people get off the street. There's going to be a lot more able-bodied homeless people on the street, and they're trying to get them off the street. Well, they pay for their they give them monies for their electric bill, some water bills, things of that nature, and we count the voucher. If it's a full voucher, then that's fine. Now here's a whole move. Okay, this is big. Let's say that they have a voucher that their total amount is $1,000 and their portion is $200. Okay, we do check some type of income verification. So want to be clear, if y'all looked at it, I think I said income verification, not to be confused with employment verification. So let's say if they've got $200, right, that's due to them, then our requirements is 2.5 times a month rent. Okay, so 2.5 times 200, that means they need to show some type of income of $500. Okay, now that income could be a Social Security check. I'll take that. Okay, it could be something that's verifiable income. Okay, I'm a little bit iffy on child support. If it's child support, I need to see the judgment and bank statements. Okay, judgment and bank statements. I hope that answered the question. Was that sufficient?
Yeah, I think so, based on the way it was asked.
Okay, cool. All right, let's keep it moving.
She responded, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so background check. We run the background check on everybody over 18. We use My Smart Move. You can use Rent Ready. Review the results. And so for us, it's kind of like this. All right, so first things first, we're getting leads. Then we're getting the application. Our application actually is free. Now I think depends upon the type of property you have. If you want to weed a lot of nonsense out, if you don't have a lot of time to be fooling with people, then you should absolutely charge for an application. For us, we have some apartments and we're trying to do volume. So typically we're just trying to get as many applications as possible, knowing that we cater to a lot of Section 8 tenants. If you do not, I absolutely will tell you to pay charge for an application. We do charge for a background check. So with us, we look at the application first. And I try to save a lot of people some money because there's a lot of large apartment complexes that applications is a revenue source. For my business, applications is not a revenue source. I kind of feel some kind of way about that. I don't want to feel like people getting cheated. So what we do is we look at the application. Okay, we'll evaluate the application. If we know this person does not qualify or will not meet our criteria, then we're not running their background. Why charge them the money? Let them move on. We just go ahead and let them know, right? Or if there's something on the application that we think is an automatic failure, we'll pick up the phone, call them, and see what's up. If we want to move forward, then we do the background check. If not, we'll just save them some money and not do the background check. Okay, so that's kind of what we do with the background check. In the background check, I'll stay here for a half a second. What are we looking for in the background check? Okay, so for us, we have a 3-in-1 background check. We're looking for discrepancies and anomalies. Okay, so for example, if there is the name and ID on the application the same name and ID on the background check, right? Is this ID, does this look like the person you're talking to, right? Checking for credit. Credit in our background check. I don't really do credit scores versus I don't really care about the credit scores. Most people got bad credit anyway. Okay, now what I do look for is things on the credit. Who are they paying? Who are they not paying? If they're not paying their light bill and utility bills, I kind of think I have an issue, right? Do I care about a repossession on the car? It stands out, not so much. Two things I definitely don't care about is student loans and medical bill debt. I really don't. Most of America got student loan problems. Most of America got medical bill problems. So I don't really care about that so much. Right? You can have $50,000 in student loan judgments and medical bills. I don't care about that. But if you got a $1,500 judgment from the apartment down the street, I absolutely care about that. Does that make sense? Right? Because that's a reflection upon the type of tenant you are and what you've done in the past, right? So we're looking for those type of things on their background, okay? Red flags to us, for me, right? How are you gonna, is other landlords have a problem with you? Criminal, so then you got your criminal, right? Which we've talked about a lot of the criminal stuff in the past, okay? Any questions around that?
You do have a question. So the question basically is, if I own multiple, I'm gonna paraphrase some of these questions. If I own multiple properties, do I have to have the same application fee per property? So like if I have, a 4-unit and I charge $100 for an application fee, but I also own a 12-unit and I only charge $50 for that specific property.
I do not believe you do. Okay, I'm fairly certain. Go look at your local housing laws in that area, but I'm very 95. I don't want to say 100% positive. I'm 95% positive you do not, because one, you might have different LLCs and things of that nature. And yeah, each property might have a different type of ownership structure. But most importantly, I'm fairly positive you do not. Okay, because that's not necessarily goes in the discrimination aspect of it. Okay.
It's also not the same property. So I would add to that is you have to also think about your properties as being separate things, right? Yes, you are a common owner of them. However, you can have policies and procedures in place for one that may not need to be the exact same for the other. So I think that it's most important for you, like you said, to check your local, but also to have your documentation clear on the requirement differences, because that can make the difference defensible. Like if someone was to come up against you, if you have like, so for 123 so-and-so street, here's all our policies and procedures, here's all of our rent qualification amount, here's how we have it posted, here's how we have it. And so I can't just go and say, hey, you should have did this here because I did that there, where you're not even applying here, so it doesn't apply to you.
That is right. And again, that goes to consistency, how you advertise for those properties.